Evening, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Triple J Racing Weekly. Joined once again by Bryce Barger from up in the Sunshine State, Queensland. How you going there, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me again. Absolutely beautiful day up here. Weather's been bliss. So, how's things on your end?
Yeah, weather's fantastic down here where I am too, mate, which is really good considering all the rain we've had. But obviously coming off a pretty frustrating weekend there where we lost 9 of the 10 races in Sydney, but races still went ahead in Caulfield, and I certainly had a bit of a tough weekend. How did you go?
It's pretty. Tatum Ball got me out in the last with the one where she just went straight up the rails and bolted in. So, luckily, mate, that saved me $10. It was a shame to see Ramwick off straight away because it was a perfect setup for the likes of Deep Romance and a few others. But if it's for the safety of the horses and riders, then that's a fair call. And managed to snag True Crime in the first, so that was good. But overall, mate, yeah, it was a bit of a hard day. They were coming from everywhere, and a few sort of winners I just didn't expect to be winning. So a few caught me off guard, mate. It was definitely a tricky day for punters. So hopefully more winners this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I was a little bit frustrated watching a few of my runners go around. It's Duke of Hastings there. I thought bit of a horror watch. I thought he should have won his race, and then Pasquero just found all sorts of trouble. So when that happens twice in one day, it's time to put the queue in the rack and start again next weekend. So that's what
That's
I've
it.
done. I've started doing form for this week. So we'll get straight into that, mate. We're obviously going to do things a bit different this week. We're not going to go ahead and roll through any certain races. We're going to go through horses we're keen on across all tracks. We'll start with Sydney, which is Rose Hill. Track's a heavy 9 at the moment, mate, but rail out 4 meters. Shouldn't be much rain until race day and plenty of wind. So I'm hoping it gets back into the soft track there. Any thoughts on the track before we get into things?
Yeah, it's a bit tricky to read with Wyong today. I was into a soft six, and I had a few of my tips were sort of aimed at the heavy range. So I think you're right, mate. It probably will get into the soft range if no rain's predicted. But a little bit of a lottery this New South Wales forecasts.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. It's been really difficult lately, but if we do get into the soft range, we're going to be on that soft 7 track, and hopefully, when you get a wet track at Rose Hill, hopefully it's a fair day of racing and not that good for get on the fence and run. But mate, we'll start things off in the first race, which is the Tab Highway. I believe you've got a horse you're keen on here in the first one.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Highways is one of those ones I've got a nice grip on. Just if you watch a lot of the midweeks, you can get the upper hand in Highways, and I feel like I can get them more often than not. And it's one of yours, mate. You were keen on So Country. And I do concede it was probably a little bit lucky to win last start when another one of that threw it away. But I just think with the nice map of Dulles sticking, and it's such a progressive horse, it's going to be third up and it has plenty of upside. I see it mapping to get a sweet run in transit, and I think that $7 is more than fair, mate. The other one that I'm giving huge respect to is Well in Sight because it had problems first up. And you go through its form, it's obviously 7 lengths away from Overpass, and it bolted in 3 times before that. So I'm giving that massive respect. You've got J Mac booked aboard. A drying track would be no problems. We're getting $20. It's one of these things where a horse has one issue and the market's just ready to dismiss them straight away. It SP'd $6. So it was a drifter as well. I think it opened favourite. So same class, J Mac aboard. They're not mucking about. Barrier 7 should sit just off the speed. I think $20 is way over the odds for Well in Sight, mate. Given that I think it got the tongue tie over. So it had excuses there. That can bounce back. I'd be shocked if that isn't in the finish. So I'm keen in the highway on So Country, and I'm going to spec Well in Sight each way.
I like it, mate. And So Country is one of them horses that you just know is going to put itself on the speed and run a big race for you. 7 starts over the career, 7 top 2 finishes. And last start, me personally, I did back the horse and we got the right price about him. But I was a little bit concerned about the fitness there. So I mean, you got a nice draw there. Got the jockey sticking again, Brenton Abdullah, and added fitness. So real positive about So Country. I've got one for listeners in race 2 that I'm pretty keen on, mate. I like Wave Rider Boy. It's a 1100-meter precise air handicap, and I really like the way that this horse returned first up. Led them around at Warwick Farm, and I think that they may have even, the rider may have even relaxed the horse down over the line. The runner-up out of that race won well yesterday at Warwick Farm to frank the form. I think barrier 6 on the day is going to be absolutely ideal. And Jason Collar's statistics on a heavy track right now are the best in New South Wales. So I know they're sort of things that I don't really dive in too much, but he's certainly reading the tracks well. That's all I'll take out of that. And I think that Wave Rider Boy has a bit of a fitness edge now with that run under the belt against a few here, putting itself on the speed, and really like the horse. So I'm pretty keen on Wave Rider Boy in race 2, mate. Have you got any comments on that race, or are you keen to leave that one alone?
Yeah, I was pretty much the same with you, mate, with the Miyoshi form line. I had that sort of in asterisks to keep an eye on in terms of Wave Rider Boy. I know it has good wraps on it. I do think it was let go easy towards the end of the line. So I was actually going to back that as well as if Snitcat does run, because, and obviously a query with fitness and how long it's had off, but running third to Coolangatta with Russian Conquest right behind it, and it's got a second to Russian Conquest before. So out of that open company, it's got no jockey at the moment, so I don't know whether it's going to run or not, but I'm keen on that and Wave Rider Boy, who, as you said, mate, Colette knows where to find the right parts of the track when it's wet, and it's got barrier 6, which it had last start, so it just maps for the same run. Sweet Ride and Voldemort, they're both really promising types, but they've had a long time. They've had a while off, and they're both coming from really wide draws. So both will need a bit to go right. I think you've got a good bet there with Wave Rider Boy, mate, and keep an eye on whether Snitcat gets a start or not. I think that's just a spec at the $20 mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Snitcat might get a start if I might race if it gets into the soft range, but I don't think they'll be too keen to jump into this first up on a heavy track. You've got one for us in race 3, mate, which is the midway, very open midway, in fact, with Barticelli the favourite at $5. Where you heading here?
Yeah, I've got 2, and I like backing. If I'm going to back 2 things, I've got to make sure most of them are either ones at odds and one's a saver, or back 2 things each way at odds. And I know it's a total flea, but the first time I ever backed air to air was last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and I thought it was horribly unlucky after missing the start. It's one of these horses where it goes against my grain where I say don't back things that don't win regularly. However, when something's got a new stable and it runs as well as it did, it was outrageous from where it came from. Brocky Reiner bought it, $12. I can entertain that bet despite the strike rate on a 1x3 basis. And the other one, mate, I gave Bellesoir big raps, and it was on a day where if you're sitting outside leader, you're absolutely toast. It worked up a bit, sat outside the lead, and they just didn't judge the pace right. It was all the leaders dropped off, and obviously Frumos came through and looks a total star. You were bang on there. And I just think that 8th doesn't read as badly as it was. And I just reckon that was a day where nothing sat outside the leader and went well. So I'm prepared to give that another chance. I thought its win before was outstanding. And now we get $16, Abdullah Sticks and barrier 5. So if he can get to the rail, that's going to give an almighty sight. And one lesson I've learned in racing, mate, forgive a horse off one bad run. Otherwise, you're left not with much. So I'm prepared to give that another go, and we get a good price to find out.
I do love that theory, mate. When you just see one run in a horse's form guide, you just think, well, something went wrong that day, and then next start the bookmakers just give you a couple of extra dollars on the form. So I do like that myself, mate. You've got another one for us in race 4, which is the 1,800 meter Thank You Owners benchmark 78. Nashi's on the favourite and narrated. Are you with the favourite, or are you looking around?
Yeah, and it's a Waller-based race, and I don't like doing this often, but I do think at the $8.50 mark, Lovely Esteem doesn't need to improve much. You look at that run, that's last run behind Alcyone, and that's the right form for this. J-Mac aboard, barrier 2, it's only going to get a peach. And I am with J-Mac in a lot of rides on Saturday, and I've just come to the conclusion, mate, that if it's a decent enough horse and you've got someone like J-Mac or Dylan Gibbons aboard, I'm just driven to it. You're going to get, more often than not, a fantastic steer, and that's so important in this game. So maps for the perfect run in transit. Out of those 3 Waller horses, I'm pretty keen on Lovely Esteem the most, and it's paying the best. It'll handle the conditions. I just think it's out of the right form. And it's only 2 runs in Australia, mate, so it's got a stack of upside. It's only going to get better out in trip. You go have a look at its form over in Ireland, and it was over, a lot further than what it's seeing. So out to the 1,800, it's going to run a ripper. Have you got anything in that race?
Mate, I found that race really difficult, and reason being, I was very keen on Elusive Jewel last weekend in the 1,600 metre race, and now this race is 1,800 metres, and I know that really nice draw there, barrier 6. narrated. I'm a little bit concerned about 1800, but the horse will jump on the speed, gets the strong rider and Nashi aboard. Heavy track statistics are fantastic. So they were the two I was looking at. But then you got Mon Felicity, who was absolutely super first up, going to improve second up. So I'm not too keen to single one out here, mate. I did think the favourite was an okay price at $4, but I mean, there's a number of runners there that wouldn't shock me. So I'll say to leave race 4, but I am keen on one in race 5. I'm keen on 2 here that I wanted to look at. Actually, Shades of Rose, obviously, had the issues first up this time around. Second up, I don't want to criticise Rachel King because the last thing I like is when a jockey's, when you see a horse stuck wide, especially one that you've backed, jockey just sits there and doesn't do anything. At least she made the move. She made the go forward move. It didn't pay off in the end. The horse was on jelly legs the last 50 metres, but this time around you're in barrier 2, shoots forward, gets the all important jockey change to J-Mac. You're going to get those soft hands aboard with J-Mac riding, and with all that speed coming across from wide, man, I think Shades of Rose is going to get that crucial spot just in behind with cover, which will be able to save the horse's energy instead of what happened last time. Just had to use it all in run. The other horse that I was sort of taken by the odds was French Marine. I just think that the horse is over the odds, down in grade, up in weight, obviously, handles a wet track, comes off a little bit of a freshen up, and I thought the trial the other day was excellent. So I think barrier 1's probably the concern there, but 18 and 420, I'm happy to have a save on French Marine. And I'm interested to hear who you liked in that race, mate.
People think we're meeting up before this. Mate, you have said the exact write-up I've got of this race. It is the exact same. I've got French Marine, barrier 1, question mark. I'm backing that. I'm backing Shades of Rose for exactly the reasons you said, mate. And I can be harsh on King. I can't catch her, but I agree with you completely, mate. Let it roll if you're stuck wide. We get J-Mac aboard, and how many kilos is he worth? 53 up to 57, but the drop in grade in barrier 2, I'd be shocked if Shades of Rose isn't running at least a Quinella. And yeah, as you said, mate, spot on. French Marine, it's never missed a placing at the trip. And that was one stat I was really interested in. And if we get out of the heavy range, even better, mate. It's soft and good records, excellent. It's just a good horse. And you got Timmy Clark from barrier 1. So he's either going to just go hands and heels Tim style, or he'll just go off the speed and it'll be a matter of finding a gap. And if I'm banking on someone to find a gap, I think Timmy Clark's one of the ones I'd want on. He's just an aggressive person when it comes to it. I think he's got the raps as being a leader, but he's good at finding gaps. I do believe he's good when he's just off the pace. So they're the two, mate. Spot on what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Shades of Rose, sometimes when you have a horse that likes to go forward, you want the horse to jump out of barrier 2, get to the front and lead. But this race here just seems to shape perfectly if J-Mac can get that spot in behind the lead. And, the gaps will open in the straight. Heavy track, they always open up. And just like you said about Timmy Clark, that J-Mac's going to find the gap. And he's going to take a small one as well. So, yeah, I think you can play Shades of Rose and also save on that other runner we did. And, for those wondering, myself and Bryce don't talk about horses prior to the podcast. So if we both like one, go and press go, and hopefully we can all have a collect together. Race 6, mate. I'm keen on one in this race, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts first because I know you like one as well.
Yeah, I'm super keen on Deep Romance. It's just overlooked by the market again. I came in with this element of bullishness last time it ran. I really just had this feeling. I think it was $10 when I tipped it, and it was the horse that I don't really have a massive staking plan myself. I go off feeling, and it was the horse I really backed heavily out of the day of all my runners. And it didn't let me down. It was a 2-length win. It could have been more, and its turn of foot was outstanding, mate. So pending track pattern, but if Regan Bayless rides it cold and they're coming out wide, I'm so bullish this is in the finish again. I don't know how we're getting $13, especially if the track stays heavy, mate, because I just think that win was, everyone kind of visually watched it and went, wow, missed that. But go look at its first up run. It was unlucky to lose to Glittery, who smoked them in the midweek. So I think that form line's brilliant. Bear in mind, Kalino and Kanazawa are coming out of that cross-talk form, which has really stood up. So I do think the two favourites are hard to beat. Pizarro is good as well. So it is a stacked race, mate, but Deep Romance should be much shorter than $13 at the moment. And bar that one issue where it had coughing in between, it's run second to Glittery and it's smacked them in a BM72. It's got the same grade here. It's up 2 kegs. A little bit harder, but I think it should be $5 or $6. What have you landed on, mate?
Yeah, this is another tricky race, mate. But I've obviously been really keen on this Pizarro I've been following this all too hard gelding really closely this preparation after a great first preparation, and I thought both the first two runs of the campaign here was probably unlucky not to win again, although Pretty Wild's a nice horse. I think that wide barrier. It's a massive track pattern watch for me here because the two that I like are the one you like, Deep Romance and Pizarro, and I think they won't be forward or midfield. They'll be coming from the rear. So from barriers, well, they'll come in a little bit, but 14 and 17 or whatever they are, they're going to be coming down the outside lane. So I need runners to be able to run on, and Rosehill, that's not always the case. But I really think that Pizarro's ready to go here, third up out of the 1300. I like Hugh Bowman aboard. When you give Hugh Bowman a good horse, a good quality horse, they're going to get the right ride out of him. I think he's over the years, well, I won't say too much there, but I think Hugh Bowman on the right horses can get the job done for us. And hopefully it's a fair track on the day. But I think the price is right for Pizarro, and I wouldn't be disappointed if 5 or 6 came out of the race, bringing the horse into about barrier 12 or 13 instead of 19. They're my thoughts, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with your comments on Pizarro. Pretty Wild was weighted so well last start. Like, I think it was staying in the same grade and dropping weight. It was almost just handed the race on weights. And I think Pizarro was dead set unlucky. There was gaps to third and it was charging late. I think I ended up backing them both, so I wasn't too phased with the result. But out of that run, you'd back Pizarro 9 times out of 10. So it's knocking on the door, mate. As you said, track pattern. I think that and Deep Romance will be steaming late.
Yeah, with Pizarro, he just seems to, I know a lot of horses do at the moment, but he just keeps finding these heavy tracks. I think if we can get, I don't know if we will, but there is a lot of wind around. If we can get, I'd love to see him on a soft 6 or 7 there, third up at the peak fitness and see how he goes. But that's actually a great race, mate. There's a lot of winning chances in it. So it's an interesting one. Race 8 for myself. I'm happy to back JoJo Was a Man. Once again, I was pretty keen on the horse last week in the Winter Stakes, and obviously, this time around, we go all the changes this week is Crosstalk enters the equation and goes in from barrier 5 to barrier 3. But, JoJo Was a Man has the fitness edge on a couple here. Will roll forward, handles a wet track. And, I know that last week with the heavy 10 track, I was more confident. And this time around, it might not be. But I still think that it's pretty well suited here against a couple of horses that are, first up and probably needing the fitness edge. So I'm keen to play JoJo Was a Man. And I know that you've got one for us in race 10, mate, which is a 1,300 metre benchmark 78 with two $6 favourites, Serlamur and Titanium Power. So who's taking out the last race?
Yeah, I've always been a massive Silent Agenda fan. And one thing about this this gelding is that it's always over the odds. I think without blowing your own trumpet, 3 times I think I've won on Silent Agenda over $20. You pick it on the right day and you just get it. King was aboard. It was an uncharacteristic lead. Silent Agenda is normally off the speed, and I thought it stuck on really well. 1.5 lengths off them in the BM88. It drops in grade here. Yeah, I've got barrier 12. I'm putting a fair bit of faith in Abdullah to have a big day, but this is well and truly proven in BM78, mate. And this is the time of prep where Silent Agenda, look at its 4th up record, 2 wins, 2 seconds from 6 goes. Thing absolutely flies this time of prep. And off that last start run, any improvement, it's going to be really hard to beat, provided that the track's playing okay. My only knock is it's coming back from the 1300, but you got to have a look at the weights, mate. It's first up. It was right behind Titanium Power, and that's favourite in this race. Look, it's meeting Titanium Power 62.5. So I just think on the weights, mate, Silent Agenda's in way better there. So there's a lot of things ticked, and you look at the prices, the favourite versus Silent Agenda, $6 versus 17. There's absolutely nothing between them. So I think it's been disrespected by the market yet again, and I'd be shocked if that isn't fighting out the finish. Anything in that race you've got?
Yeah, I think interesting about Titanium Power. If Canasta races in this race, they're just going to go up front and bully the crap out of each other up front. So it should set it up for a horse in behind. I got a lot of work to do on this race still in terms of a couple of replays to watch and all that type of thing. But one runner that really surprised me first up and it really grinded my gears actually was Naval Soldier, because I've always had an opinion of this horse, and I know that you look through the form guide and all through the form guide, you see nice horses there, Rustic Steel, Geo and Kiss there's all winning form around the horse. And then, heavy tracks, the horse just relishes it. So I know for a fact first up because I was visiting the stable the day before the race, and I posed the question as our Noble Soldier was going, and they just said, "Oh, look, he's going really well, but he needs a fitness run. There's been too many wet tracks down here, and we haven't been able to get any proper trials into him, so he needs to run." And they said it's probably yeah, well, he needs a run, and then he comes out and wins first up quite well there over the 1200 meters on a heavy truck. He might be in for a great preparation and should take fitness out of that run. So I know this is a harder race, but look, they've chosen to race on the harder one on the day. They were nominated for 2 races. They've come here and drawn a great barrier, 31 and 7 in a heavy truck. I think you could probably have a little bit of a saver on Noble Soldier, but yeah, a bit of a difficult one, mate. I know that you're not the biggest fan of betting around Death Valley there at Moonee Valley, but I've got a couple on the Melbourne program, mate, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into them. Race 2, Alpha 1. Damien Lane goes aboard, $2.70, jumps out of barrier 4. This is a horse that I've backed both times this preparation. Yeah, we've gone bang bang. He bashed him up at Newcastle over 900 meters. He jumped on the fence and absolutely bolted in there. And second up at Hawkesbury over the 1,000 meters, he was on the fence, let him up again, and I don't know how, but he ended up on the outside fence. So my one query with him was turning into getting onto his Melbourne leg. But if you watch the end of that Hawkesbury race, I'm sure that he got onto his Melbourne leg because he ended up almost into the crowd. So he's very green, but I think he's a very fast horse with a massive motor. He can sustain a fast speed for a long time. And I think the 955 meters, he'll jump out from 4-5 on the fence. Got no doubt about it. He's quicker than the rest of the horses early. And I think he's a very strong colt. So I'm pretty keen on Alpha 1, mate. Have you had a look at the Melbourne races or got any opinion of this one?
I'm grinning because I had in my head last night when I was thinking about the podcast. I thought I reckon $1.10 Fish is tipping Alpha 1. And yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. I've already backed it myself. I think I backed it in when I saw you tip it, and it was outstanding. Backed it again. It's one of those ones where no reason to jump off, done us well, and time again, mate. How often do we see the New South Wales form hold up? Shalaman was good first up, but in his form, the form around Shalaman read really well. I think I was guilty of overlooking it second to Let's Roll the Dice on a heavy deck. It's probably not going to get that heavy deck here. So all things lead to Alpha 1 in this, mate. Fishian, or however it's pronounced, is probably my danger. Just put away for a while, and it has good upside. But 955 metres, a jump and run job. I'll be surprised if Alpha 1 doesn't win this, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I really like him. I've seen him in person before, and he's such a really athletic colt. And then I thought, well, they tipped him out after first preparation. And then what he did on first up this time around Newcastle, I just love that. And look, as you said, Moonee Valley, you want to get on the fence, you want to be leading, you want to be leading him up around the corner, and he's got that reason to be green because he gets that far out in front that he hasn't got any help around him. That sometimes he, like Hawkesbury at the end of that 1,000-meter race, he sort of started moving around a little bit, but no one's up there putting any pressure on him because he's too quick for his own good. So I'm hoping that that's the case on the weekend, and I don't think you can get a better rider aboard Damien Lane, Frosty Lane there at Moonee Valley. So keen on Alpha 1. Race 7, mate, at Moonee Valley. I'm keen on Jimmy the Bear. Currently the favourite at $4.20. I think he's flying this preparation. I love the form lines he comes out of where he's been behind Cardinal Gem, Aaron Bay, or he beat Cardinal Gem and Aram Bay. He was pretty strong last start. I think he can peak again here, fourth up. He'll throw himself into the race from barrier 8, and I think he'll come across from that draw with a couple of slow starters inside him, and I reckon he's going to absolutely relish the 1,600 metres here with Billy Egan aboard. So that's a jockey trainer combo that I like, Billy and Patrick. So pretty keen on those Jimmy the Bear's chances. Have you got any thoughts on that race?
Yeah, mate. I've honestly tipped two things at the Valley, and it's Alpha 1 and the Bear. And I've been with the Bear since its first run. I was on its debut run, and I've pretty much almost been with it every start. You get a great side out of him. He's a super horse. I remember his Bendigo run where he put them away at the end of last year, and I saw the turn of foot and went, he's going to be Saturday grade. And he's probably exceeded what I thought he was going to do. But the second of Daytona Bay, and as you said, Aaron Bay, Cardinal Gem, this is the outstanding form for this kind of race. Some of these ones that are dangers, like pricks to turns first up, and a lot of them like Umgawa and El Cobodes, you look at their strike rates. I mean, it's just, they're stuck looking for another win. Jimmy just keeps popping the wins on. So he's always a good price. He's never too short. $4.20. I think it should be $3. As you said, Billy Egan, Patrick Payne, probably almost one of the best combos in Australian racing. And his running style, he'll either be off the speed and charging, or he'll put himself on it. Either way, he's going to fight out the finish. He very rarely doesn't. 6 times in the Quinella from 8 career starts.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stats there, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this Mooney Valley program on the weekend. And it sounds like if I have a good weekend, mate, you'll be having a good one as well. So we'll see how we go over these last couple of races. But race 8, mate, I'm pretty keen on Jamie Carr riding Tabby Dance. It's a 1600 metre Rambit Tegan Harrison Cup at benchmark 100. I think Tabby Dance is the only off-speed horse I really want to back on Saturday at Mooney Valley for obvious reasons. It's not the type of track you want to be doing that, but I just think he's so ready to win here third up. He's been racing really good order, and I think the tempo suits with speed drawn across the track, which will give backmarkers their opportunity. And just third up, getting to the mile here against a couple of horses that I think are either deeper into the preparation or have bigger targets in mind and further out in trip. So obviously, Chief Elton is in the race. I think he's been a little bit sort of overhyped this time around. He's really well weighted there at the absolute minimum. So I think those two will fight it out. But I think Tabby Dance is the best horse in the race. And I think that the horse has done enough in the first 2 starts of this preparation to suggest that we'll be able to go on and run a big race here, third up at the 1600. So Jamie Carr aboard. I'm keen on Tabby Dance, mate. You like anyone in this one?
I'm a bit with you on the Chief Altony. I've always had an opinion that it's just a bit overrated. You go look at its last 10 runs, it's SPs versus its results, and it's, $7.50, $6, $5.50, $4, $5.50, $3, $3 1 win out of all of those. So constantly below $10. And that's what I think that's one of the key stats I like to look at, mate, because you get these horses, and I think Tony Gollan's the best trainer in Queensland. And I have a lay column in the back of Winner every weekend, and I'll put Paladas and Glitter Strip in that thing for the last 2 years or year, and it just continues. I just copy and paste almost. They just keep starting $3 and they lose every time. And as I said, Gollan's an absolute star trainer, but it's the same thing with Chief Altony. Bookies have put him up $2.70. He's been rolled below $10. He's passed 9 of 10 starts. I don't understand that. And as you said, mate, Tabby Dance, I think should be favourite. I think you're spot on there. And one I'm interested in is Lure Me In at $41 because it bolted in a recent trial and it beat Star Sparks, who came out and won today. So I'm just a little bit interested there with Lure Me In. I know it's Mooney Valley and it's going to need luck, but Damien Lane's an interesting booking. You're not mucking about if you're booking someone like Damien Lane. It's placed at the track. It could surprise these, mate, especially with that trial, that form coming out. And I mean, its form is Sydney form, which is it's going to hold up more often than not. So I know it's really hard to catch, but if you're getting $2.90 for Chief Altony or $2.70, I think Lure Me In deserves a look, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tabby Dance starts favourite.
Yeah, that's a fair point about Lure Me In as well. And obviously the horse seems to peak second up, and he's had that real pipe opener off a lengthy break there behind Taxil and Oscar Zulu in a pretty fast run, 1,400 metres on a firm deck at Randwick, which was never going to be a winnable task for him, but off a nice trial there. Second up, goes down to Melbourne and Frosty Lane book. That's not a bad little share there at the $41 and $10. So, yeah, excited about that. But Chief Elton is one of them horses that, you seem to have him in the midweeks Wednesday, and he's either winning or second and third, but then you put him in big races and he can still do the same thing, second and third. It's like, well, mate, if you're going back to the Wednesday, you need to be bolting in, come out of the bigger races and be competitive. But he's just the same every start. But anyway, great race to finish things off there at Mooney Valley. You've got a couple for us in your home state, mate, Eagle Farm. I'll just get this loaded up here and then we'll get stuck into it. Race 4 we'll start with. It's obviously going to be a good track there on the weekend, I believe, mate, coming from what you've told me. And race 4, 2,400 metre Miller's Swim School, benchmark 75. I'm surely with the favourite here, Oceanic Flash, mate. Is that the case?
Yeah, you're spot on. I've got in my notes New South Wales form. Every single time I do Queensland, it just holds up. I've been doing Queensland meetings for Back a Winner, and every single time I see New South Wales form lines, mate, they stand up. Very, very rarely do they not. And I remember a couple of weeks ago, Simba, I was so red hot on him and his chances with the form, and I saw a few experts saying, no good lay bet and things like that. And I thought, we'll see how we go. And just 5 lengths on them within the space of a couple of seconds. And it's no disrespect to Queensland form, but someone like Oceanic Flash comes in. You go have a look at the form lines behind Yggdrasil and, Born a King, Bartholomew Diaz. This just looks placement to get a win, to get a dry track. And Kyle Wilson-Taylor aboard gets a claimer, barrier 2. I just think it should be winning this race. I really do. Honourable Spirit comes out of the right races. And again, that's New South Wales form behind Arapaho. But the horse's strike rate's lately a bit of a concern. But Oceanic Flash, mate, this looks so ideal. Never missed the placings over the trip. And I think Kyle Wilson-Taylor's one of the best in Queensland. He's a very good rider. He's very aggressive. So, yeah, mate, I'm red hot in the favourite. Have you got anything in that race?
I'm with you there, mate. I think Oceanic Flash is really hard to beat. And one stable that I've noticed do seem to have a really good record at bringing horses up to Queensland and getting the job done. I know you mentioned Simba there, but they just seem to place their horses well, the Ryan and Alexio stable. And I think Oceanic Flash has been one of them sort of, I've been keen on him a number of chances. He does a few things wrong, but this looks his race for mine. I think he's the best horse in the race here. He's well weighted. And I think, being back onto a firm deck, he'll be able to use his turn of foot at the end of those staying races. So I'm keen on Oceanic Flash as well, mate. We'll jump up to race 8 now, which is the 1400 metre country music race day handicap. One of your favourite horses here, mate, Tony Gollan, Paladas. Wow. $5. Who do you like here?
I saw him $2.80 in the open race, and I tipped Dr. Zeus off its trial, which was fortunate enough to win the odds for me at tens. But how Paladas jumped $2.60 in the open race, I thought, oh, you're kidding. And it's $5 here, which is, it's still favourite. But, mate, looks like Elvis is bringing in the bang-on A form. Look at its record at this track. It loves racing here. Bar one poor run last start, it's right behind Taxu, and it's beat its our time over in Victoria. So I'm really keen on looks like Elvis. And Giannis, we're getting $16. Oh, forget it's 2 runs on soft decks. This horse just dead set wants a dry track, which is why they put it on the farm. The driest track in the world. It's 10 lengths off Animo, 5 lengths off in the Congo. It's beat Tiger of Malay in its last 3 runs on good tracks. It's run second to Converge earlier in its career. I can see that it's probably not going as well as those runs, but anything like any of those efforts, mate, it should be bolting in this. It's $16. You look at those New South Wales form lines, that'd be romping past Paladas. If you can get within a couple of lengths of in the Congo, you'll be putting Paladas to the absolute sword. So I'm really keen, mate. Looks like Elvis loves the track. And if Giannis is right and good to go and looking for a good track, I think it'll be far too good for them. $15 is outrageous odds, in my opinion. Anything in that one for me, mate?
Nah, not really, mate. I think you were spot on there, and we got the right odds about looks like Elvis, but I'm a little bit. I think the horse is well placed and going really well, and as you said, absolutely loves the track. But I'd need to see him running down the outside to be able to back looks like Elvis from that wide draw. Or Jimmy Orman's not a bad rider; he'll be able to find a spot. But just the draw held me off. And Giannis, as you said, I know you're spot on about the form and finding a good track. I think the rumours are Chris Waller's built him a stable at Eagle Farm, and he's never going anywhere else because he needs that rock hard concrete track, but he just doesn't seem to be travelling as well as he was before. But at least the odds are there. But for me, that's a race where, once again, anything can happen. And I'm not keen to really dive into one, but track pattern, mate, I'll be on looks like Elvis if they're running down the outside on the day. And we're getting to the last run now, mate. I don't mind a runner here in field Weary or back last start. I'll probably be doubling up again on that horse. But who did you like in the last one?
Yeah, spot on. I should have put the multi-mate on you backing Field Weary and Alpha One. I knew that they were the 2. And look, I'm sticking with you, mate. And it's the Frumos form. I think that's going to be, the form to go through in the future. I think it's spot on. That horse looks an absolute star. It's the Bay Eid of Australia, who was unbelievable last night or this morning. 54 kilograms, Jimmy Byrne, barrier 4, to end the day at a $7 note. I'd be very, very shocked, mate, if it's not in the top 3. It's a 1x3 play. If you're having a shocker day, I'd be having a good red-hot crack at Field Weary in the last. Even luck in running, it should be extremely hard to beat. Last start was an absolute shocker watch. And I don't think this field's any harder. I'm really keen on it, mate. Manhood might not run here. it's got good wraps. $2, not interested. Not at that price.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and you're right. That field weary run last start, I sort of with the 200 to go, I thought, I got no chance here, and then absolutely wound into the race, and I thought, we're going to get this, but we didn't quite get it. And I agree. I echo your thoughts around this race being, at least as I don't think it's any harder, that's for sure. So, out of fitness, Jimmy Byrne goes aboard. I think you're right. Got the right price about the horse each way. That sort of wraps us up a little bit there on our selections, and I'm certainly keen to hear your thoughts around your best bet and value bet. You won't be surprised who my best bet is, mate, coming out of the New South Wales provincial circuit. But we'll get into your best and value bets first.
Well, I'll probably do a couple here, mate. I'm going to say the dry cut good thing of the day, Shades of Rose. I just think it's so well placed. It maps to perfection. J Mac aboard. So unlucky last run. I do concede that when you see such a good thing, you see a lot of people tipping it and getting pumped. It just comes out and flops. It just seems to happen quite a bit. But I just think it's too good to be true. I look at those odds and I go, even money, it just... I think it should be $1.70. I think it's extremely hard to beat. Good value, mate, is Deep Romance Race 6 in New South Wales. If it's a heavy track and they're running down the outside, I think that and Pizarro are going to be smacking the line together. It's way over the odds. It's in the same grade. One with a leg in the air last start. Probably just another one I want to mention, mate. Is to finish off the day is Field Weary. Like, as we touched on, probably a moral lift last start, but I'm going to trust that Frumos form for a long time. I think that horse is a superstar. I'm glad you tipped it the other weekend, mate, because I think that's going to be Group 2, Group 1. It just looks, that turn of foot looks very, very good. Could have won by half the straight if the jockey wanted to last start. So I'm trusting that form, and Barrier 4 should get a nice run in transit. So, Field Weary in the last at the farm. What are your best and value, mate?
My best bet of the day is Alpha One at Moonee Valley. Reason being, I think he can find the fence again, and I just think he's an absolute speedster that'll love the 900, 955 circuit around there. And if he doesn't do anything silly up front, looking at the crowd and daydreaming, I think he's going to win the race. With Shalimar very close behind, probably making a lot of ground up late. And value bet for mine is Pizarro in race 6 at Rose Hill. Obviously, keeping in mind that with scratchings, a number of horses could come out. So Pizarro is my value bet, mate, and best of the day, Alpha One. And just for your record, I've been doing a little bit of form this afternoon at Kembla Grange, and your good man Dylan Gibbons has a very good book there, mate. So when you get off this podcast, I want you to go and watch a couple of his replays and let me know how many Gibbo is going to win on Saturday at the Kembla, and we'll go from there, mate. But thanks again for joining me, and hopefully we've found plenty of winners this weekend, and hopefully all the races on Saturday go ahead, and we don't end up with any police chases like there was at Doomben on Wednesday, or any wet trucks. Thanks, mate. Have a great one.
Thanks for having me, brother. Good luck, punters.